Hello, this is Malcolm McDowell. In a world built on stories where heroes rise, villains fall, and meaning hides between the frames, one podcast has dared to explore it all. From galaxies far away to quiet corners of small-town coffee houses, they've sought the truth hidden in pop culture's pulse. The laughter, the light, and the lessons buried beneath the spectacle. This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
I don't know the words.
You butchered that.
I did. But it's not I don't speak the language, but I love The Lion King, bro.
It's quality.
But I hit the note, though. Did you hear the notes?
I felt like I was at The Lion King on Broadway.
I knew you would. Oh, man. How does it feel sitting with so much talent?
I don't know how I do it.
He's coughing. He's so taken aback.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. That was a weird way to start the pod, but welcome.
Very.
This is Pop Culture Pastor. My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
I also double as an off-Broadway performer, apparently.
It's his weekend gig.
So, if you didn't know, I don't know how you couldn't, because I was spot on. That was the opening of The Lion King, and that's been in the news this week.
News.
So there's a lawsuit out there that has to do with The Lion King opening.
I'm all about lawsuits.
Lion King came out in 1994, bro.
That feels right.
So you might be asking yourself, why is there a lawsuit out now for the music? Well, Lebo M. Have you heard of Lebo M?
Who hasn't?
Liebong Meraki. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'm going to go with it. He's the South African composer and Grammy winner who wrote and performed the iconic Zulu chant that opens The Circle of Life, which I just butchered.
You did.
That's, of course, in the Disney's Lion King, both in the 94 version and the 2019 remake. I assume it started off the same way. I never watched it.
Someone will have to write in.
Please do. Please tell me all about the remake. Anyways, apparently Lebo M is suing Zimbabwean comedian Learn More.
That's rude.
I think that's his name. That's how it's spelled. Is that how it's said?
I think that's a play.
Learn More Genasi. You may know him from America's Got Talent, where he got a golden buzzer.
That means something to someone.
Yeah. So apparently, here's what happened, Cody. Genasi was appearing on the 154 Africa podcast. Strangely, they have not invited us.
I really like the clips from this podcast because I've seen like maybe a dozen.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm going to start watching them.
You will.
With hosts Godfrey and Akbar Baja Biamila.
Former NFL player. Green Bay Packer.
That's why his name sounds familiar.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, they asked him for some reason about the Lion King chant, and he sang the correct Zulu lyrics. He actually sang the correct ones, unlike me. And then he translated them as, "Look, there's a lion. Oh, my God."
That clip was hilarious.
That clip went viral.
Yeah, I watched that so many times.
It is pretty funny. Lebo M is coming from a place where it's like the real meaning of, this is hilarious. It's actually spelled out on my screen. Nance Ingnamyama Bagithi Baba is all hail the king. We all bow in the presence of the king. That's what it means. He says it's a royal cultural metaphor, not a literal description of seeing a lion. But his lawyers acknowledge that Inganyama can literally translate to lion, but say it functions as a royal metaphor, invoking kingship in the Anyways, that's not important. What's important is he filed a lawsuit March 16th in California federal court seeking $27 million in damages.
Does he think he is suing Dave Chappelle or Joseph Rogan?
His claims include defamation, trade libel, and torturous interference with business relationships. So here's the claim. He claims Genasi presented his translation as authoritative fact rather than comedy. Okay, which would take it outside of the First Amendment protections for parody and satire. The lawsuit also alleges that Genasi's comments are interfering with Lebo M's business relationships with Disney and his royalty income. What? How could that be?
If anything, I imagine he saw a spike in Spotify plays.
Is this the most frivolous lawsuit ever?
It is in the top 5.
This is like spilling McDonald's hot coffee on yourself in the drive-thru levels of frivolity.
Now, I will say that coffee was super hot. So this one might be in the top 4.
Like, that movie came out in 1994. That's when that song was written, before 1994. Cody, if anything, it brings it back to people's attention. I haven't thought about The Lion King in years.
I never knew the lyrics until that guy sang it and then did the translation. He was doing me a service.
Here's another question. Does anyone listen to anyone who's a comedian and think that, oh, this dude's just spitting facts?
Also, if you watch the clip, all 3 of them are laughing. I took it as a comedic thing. And if it can be literally translated as lion, even though they might have been using it in a royal metaphorical sense, he wasn't telling a falsehood.
Something tells me that learn more Genasi is usually not speaking in the royal metaphorical sense.
You need to learn more, David.
Yeah. This is my favorite part of the story. It says Lebo M reached out to Genasi on Instagram, called him an idiot for disrespecting the song. He reached out, Cody. Like, wait a minute. That's not reaching out, bro. Reaching out like is cordial. Calling someone an idiot on their Instagram is not reaching out.
I find it hilarious that it's around this Disney movie. Because this Disney movie already has heat with music.
Oh, really? What? How so? I'm not up on my Disney news.
The Lion Sleeps Tonight. There's a whole documentary about how Disney profiteered and told the original composer of this song, which I think they were from South Africa, told their family that, like, oh, we'll give you royalties, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and they got jack diddly squat.
One of the other favorite parts of this was Genasi's reaction to all this. Reportedly, and in another video that's gone viral, he said he's been making that joke for years and he's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So, he confirmed the lawsuit on Instagram, did Genasi, joking with his audience about setting up a GoFundMe.
Because I have a feeling, again, he is not Joe Rogan or David Chappelle. He doesn't probably have 27 million.
He says he's a fan of Lebo M's work and the song and that it was always meant as comedy. And that post got over 3 million views. The thing is, Cody, there's a level with this Lebo M guy could have come with where I might have given him consideration. But once you're like, I want 20 million in damages.
$1 billion.
Then I'm just kind of like, brother. Like, this is so obviously a cash grab. You're just mad and you think, oh, I'm going to make some money off of this.
If anything, I'm going to listen to the song more because it's in the news.
By the way, my little thing at the beginning was totally satire and parody. Yes. Just so we're clear. Also, I don't have $27. Forget 27 million.
That's our disclaimer.
So suing me is not going to get you anything, brother. All right. Let's see. What another big news item. This dropped today. I think it actually dropped last night.
News.
That's what we're good at, Cody. That's why people follow us. Because
Yes.
we're all about the news.
We're breaking it.
Warner Brothers revealed last night. Warner Brothers is on fire, bro. 2 years ago, we were talking about the death of Warner Brothers.
It's still coming, but
Yeah. But in a good way that works out for them well with the monies.
at least my friend David Zaslav.
I thought, okay, anyway, I thought that was me. Warner Brothers revealed last night, as we're recording this, that Stephen Colbert is co-writing a new Lord of the Rings film titled The Lord of the Rings: Shadow of the Past. Did you hear about this?
I did.
I thought you sent me, well, of course you did. You sent me the article. And my first thought was, is this a joke?
No.
I know Stephen Colbert is like a Lord of the Rings super fan.
He knows the page number and the line of like several editions of Lord of the Rings. Like you tell him the 1993 re-release of the book and what page number, and then he's like, it begins with this.
Anyways, Peter Jackson revealed this in a video, he was actually giving an update on Andy Serkis's The Hunt for Gollum, which is coming next year, which I'm not all that interested in, if I'm being honest.
It's shocking Andy Serkis slander.
I like Andy Serkis. I love Lord of the Rings, but there's some, as they're expanding this universe, I don't know. There's some stories I'm not all that interested in. I'm not all that interested in Gollum. Like, to me, Lord of the Rings tells that story, fleshes out that story as much as I want it to be, and I know what I need to know about him. But that's just me. I understand some people may want that. Now, this one, though, this one's totally different. So Colbert is, this story is titled The Lord of the Rings: Shadow of the Past, and it's going to adapt 6 early chapters of the Fellowship of the Ring, from Three's Company through Fog on the Barrow Downs, that were left out of Jackson's original trilogy. And that includes the fan favorite character Tom Bombadil.
Tom!
You pretty excited about that?
Because everyone, their mom tells me I have to be excited about that.
Are you not a reader?
I am.
Of
I've read Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
But like I read it in middle school. So we're now like 20 plus years out. And I only read it the one time because they were releasing the movies.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I also read it first in middle school. And the Tom Bombadil chapter, yeah, that was weird. That's weird, bro. So I know what chapters they're talking about. They're not my favorite chapters, but I like the idea they're going with here. So here's the log line. Here's what they're going with. They're adapting it to, say, 14 years after the passing of Frodo. Sam, Merry, and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Meanwhile, Sam's daughter Eleanor has discovered a long-buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it even began. So they're going to adapt these chapters, but have them take place in the future with mostly the same characters and just kind of adapt it into this other story. And I'm kind of here for it. Is that weird? I know some loyalists, the people that don't like them changing anything won't be, but
I think that a lot of loyalists will be happy that it's Colbert doing it, just because, like, he very much is a purist when it comes to the main 3 books. And, like, he can tell you about all the other stuff, but the first 3 books are his jam. And I think that if you want to re-captivate the Lord of the Rings audience, you narrow in your focus on a smaller portion and tell stories that weren't told or weren't told well in the movie, and have those be a movie or have those be a series, a mini series or something. And so I felt this was the path to go.
Yeah. And if you're concerned about a late night host writing it, you should know he's co-writing it with his son, who's an actual Hollywood screenwriter, Peter McGee, and LOTR veteran Philippa Boyens. So it's not just him.
Yes. And he's written some things before, because I feel like he might have been a co-writer on Strangers with Candy.
Yeah. As you said, he's a well-known super fan, regularly referenced the books on his show. He moderated a Hobbit panel in full costume at Comic-Con in 2014.
Which is kind of funny, because as far as the books and the movies go, he's not really that big of a Hobbit fan. He's like, eh.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had a cameo in The Desolation of Smaug.
Yeah. Who amongst us didn't?
So, yeah, I'm kind of excited about this. The Rings of Power, I like the first season. It was good. I'm mildly interested in that. I'm not that interested in the Gollum thing. I'm not one of these people who read the Silmarillion. I just wasn't all that interested.
Colbert did.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. The purists always are. But this is the first thing that they've announced extra. Like, I wasn't even excited about the Hobbit movies, and I think I got proven right about those, by the way, because I don't think they're very good. I think they make the story too long and too big.
First one was decent.
Right.
I think if you would have made it just 2, like, that would have been Lord's plenty.
Yeah, I agree. It's just too much. They tried to stretch it into the same thing as Lord of the Rings, and I think that ruins it in a way.
You don't need 3 movies for 1 book.
Yeah, but this, I'm actually kind of excited about. And frankly, just the idea of it seems like, oh, that kind of works. I think that works.
It does.
So, yeah, something to look forward to. Stephen Colbert, we're with you. All right. We saw Project Hail Mary.
Operation is a board game.
Yeah. We saw Project Hail Mary. We're going to talk about it coming up next.
This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Hey everybody, Dave here. Real quick, before we get into this, we're about to spoil this movie, like all of it, because this is a movie review episode of this podcast. If you haven't seen it yet and you don't want it ruined, go watch it first and come back. We'll be here. But if you're good, let's get into it. This is a movie review on the Pop Culture Pastor podcast. All right, here we are. I tried to get Cody to fist my bump before we started here, and he declined. He would not fist my bump.
Nope.
We're here to review Project Hail Mary. I love this movie, Cody.
I love the marketing campaign.
Really? Tell me about the marketing campaign. I didn't even think about that.
Before the movie got released, there was a day where Rocky had control over all the social media accounts. And so it was like worded awkwardly. But if you knew how Rocky talked from reading the book or having watched the movie now, this is funny and cute. And then they had Ryan Gosling going all over the world, it seemed like, to promote this. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, you could watch Rocky sleep.
There's been a resurgence in the kid-friendly character in an otherwise serious movie. I think it probably started with, what are we talking about here? Grogu? Was it Grogu that brought it all back? Because it used to happen all the time in the 80s. All these movies in E.T., there was always the character in the movie that they could market to the kids with the toys and the plushies and the whatever. And then we had, Grogu, I think brings it all back. Because then we had Gladys in that Jurassic Park movie, Jackson's favorite.
Buddy in the new Predator movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just, now they're all over the place.
And I'm here for it.
I was about to say it. Mostly it works. I think it works. And then this one, here's this alien who looks like sort of like a rock spider. And again, it works. They're selling plushies online. I've seen them.
The plushies are too expensive.
Because the people like the plushies, man. Project Hail Mary is directed by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller of the Spider-Verse fame. Also, the Lego movie and the 21 and 22 Jump Street. That was the last movie they did that was live action, by the way.
That's bananas.
22 Jump Street. That was back before COVID. Written by Drew Goddard, who also adapted The Martian, which we talked about last week, and based on the 2021 novel by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. It stars Ryan Gosling as Dr. Ryland Grace, Sandra Hüller, I hope I'm saying her name right, as Eva Stratt, James Ortiz as the voice and lead puppeteer of Rocky, and Lionel Boyce as Officer Carl, who is a movie creation, but we'll get to that. Cinematography by Greg Fraser, score by Daniel Pemberton. 2 hours and 36 minutes. I did not feel like it was that long. I enjoyed my time in the theater.
Yes.
But yeah, so it opened March 20th. 80.6 million domestic opening weekend, Cody, 141 million worldwide. This is Amazon MGM's biggest debut ever. This movie's doing great. And a lot of people are saying this is bringing the theaters back. This is the one that's going to bring us back.
I was already there.
And it's projected to hold strong this coming week. Of course, we won't be seeing it again because we got work to do.
I don't got time to be watching another edition of a 2.5 hour movie.
Oh, I can't wait to see it again. But we'll be at Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City.
I'll probably be watching it at my house.
94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which 6% of you, who hurt you?
It was not me.
How can you rottenize this movie?
Contrarian Cody was not very contrarian with this one.
A cinema score of A, which is probably the more impressive one.
Yes.
And the trailer was the most viewed trailer for any original movie, a non-franchise movie, in its first week at 400 million views. The book has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 40 consecutive weeks as of March 22nd.
Impressive.
So, yeah, this was a big deal. This movie was a big deal. And honestly, the fact that they could pull it off the way they have, because the more popular something is, as it heads to the theater, the wider array of opinions.
Well, yeah, because if it's hyped up too much, it feels like a letdown if it doesn't live up to the hype in some people's opinion. I've had movies where I've gone into the theater and everyone told me this is the best thing since sliced bread, and it was trash. And I was like, why are you lying to me? And then like several years down the road, I'm like, oh, it was okay. It was because everyone hyped it up so much that I negatively critiqued it way harsher than it just being an average movie.
I did that with The Matrix. I saw it way later than everyone else saw it. By the time I saw it, everyone else raved about how it was the most amazing sci-fi movie ever. And I saw it and I was like, okay, it's fine. It's good. Keanu's good. I like Keanu. But I was afraid of that with this movie. When it starts getting the reviews and everybody's saying it's the best sci-fi movie ever, I'm just like, oh no, man, I really want to like this movie. Don't do this to me. So I was really worried about it going in.
I had other worries going in. So I listened to the audiobook because we went to a con clear across the state of Kansas. I loved the audiobook and I knew all the details. And there's another movie that I loved the book, read it, and thought this movie's going to be the best thing ever. And then it was the Hunger Games movie, and it was trash. And I will stand by the trash comment, because what the Hunger Games did was they removed the heart and the meat of the movie and focused in on just the Katniss Peeta dynamic. I blame Twilight.
Yeah, they went a certain direction just because of what people were wanting.
Yes, and you lost so much detail, and you lost, again, the heart of the story, where like this book had a lot of heart and a ton of detail, which I knew a lot of that was going to get on the chopping floor just because you can't tell all those details in a movie and have it come out under 3 hours.
Yeah, we're going to get to that for sure. But the book movie dynamic of this is really interesting, Cody, because normally my standard advice for anybody is if there's a book, read the book first.
But never my advice.
It's not Cody's advice. Cody is usually not as much of a reader. I'm not usually as much
you
of a reader.
Watch that movie first, and then you enjoy the book and be like, oh, I see why they had to cut that.
This one, though, I would tell people, if you haven't already read the book, see the movie. Because the movie is like the theme park ride version of the book. So if you see the movie, you're going to love the theme park ride. You'll probably love it anyways, no matter what order you go. But enjoy the ride, and then the book will be like almost like a commentary to it, where you'll get all these behind the scenes and science details and all this stuff. And it's really interesting. And I think it will work good for people that haven't read it yet. So the road to this movie is interesting, Cody. Way back in March of 2020, Gosling signs on to star and produce before this book is even published. It came out in May of 2021, so over a full year after that.
That's bananas.
Yeah, film rights go to MGM for $3 million. I think that's going to be normal with this guy now, though. I think Andy Weir, he can just name his price.
I was going to say, that's going to be basement numbers.
Yeah.
He's going to go north.
I think some movie company will own the rights to every book he wants to write now until he's gone, before he's finished with it.
Yeah.
Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were hired to direct back in May of 2020, a couple months after Gosling signed on, and they couldn't write the screenplay themselves due to their Across the Spider-Verse commitments. Then in July of 2020, Drew Goddard was hired to write the screenplay, his second adaptation from Andy's work, The Martian, which he also did. Then in 2022, Amazon acquired MGM. So the whole project changes studios mid-development, which is interesting and weird and probably has a lot to do with the time because it goes from 6 years from Gosling signing on and saying, I want to do this, to the release. So this is very cool. Gosling's daughters, Esmeralda and Amada, 11 and 9, watched multiple cuts and gave notes, apparently. One daughter told him to wear glasses because he looks smarter with glasses.
He does look more like a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of my favorite little bits. They also voiced Rocky through his earpiece while he was filming. They read the script for Rocky so you'd have something to bounce off of. And so some of Gosling's laughter on screen is genuine as he's reacting to the way his daughters say a line through his earpiece. And I just thought that was just the most beautiful thing ever.
Precious.
Yeah. The Rocky hate Mark line. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So Gosling is riffing with Rocky in the movie about an ex-girlfriend. He's telling him a story about this ex-girlfriend and how she left him for a guy named Mark. And Rocky goes, Rocky hate Mark, which is hilarious in the movie. Apparently that was a joke for Gosling's costumer, Mark Avery, that they just did impromptu. And then it made the movie.
I was going to say that's not in the book.
If I've learned anything from watching movies and listening to commentaries and reading behind the scenes stuff, it's that sometimes if you're a director, the best things you can do are set up these like real genuine moments because they'll often just make the movie.
They will.
The Close Encounters motif of Rocky's communication, with the music and the notes, was pitched by Steven Spielberg himself.
Stevie Spielberg?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. And as you know, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that's how the aliens in that movie communicate.
It is.
And Andy Weir was on set as a fact checker for both real science and his made-up science. He said the film actually improves on the book by cutting the coma gene subplot, which he himself said he always felt kind of contrived.
Although I think that brings something better to why Mark has to be the one, or not Mark. No, Grace. Yeah.
Well, okay. So what's interesting is so by not touching on any of that, we don't really talk about the astronauts, the other two astronauts who don't make it. And so I'm watching this interview. This is great stuff here because I got excited. I'm studying up for this podcast. I'm watching all these YouTube videos, and the directors, Chris Lord, Chris Miller, and Ryan Gosling and Andy Weir sit down for Wired. They do these YouTube videos where they ask them the top whatever questions that have been asked about the movie to Google. Have you seen these?
No.
They're quite popular, but
if you say so.
They have these cards and they just have all the most asked questions on Google. So they get to question 26, and I'm kind of bored. I'm glazing over because most of these questions are just ridiculously surface, right? Because it's Google. And finally, this question comes up. Ryan Gosling picks up the card and he says, "Oh, this question's for Andy. What happened to the other two astronauts on the Hail Mary?" Because in the book and in the movie, you don't really know. They're just dead. They didn't make it. And Ryland Grace just assumes they didn't make it. Something happened. But they never really fleshed that out. Here's the crazy part. This is when I lean forward in my chair because Andy says, "I can't answer that." And they're like, "Oh?" And then you can tell they're kind of waiting for him to explain that a little bit. He's like, "Well, I know what happened to them." He says, "I know, it's in my head. I know what happened to them, but I'm going to hold it back because it has possible sequel ramifications."
I was going to say, he has been teasing a sequel or a prequel with this, but he said that it has to be a story worth telling.
I almost immediately went into detective mode. I'm like, okay, what can he mean? How can any story involving these two dead astronauts have any sort of conjunction or be told of some story that happened that we would be interested in. And all I could think of is like, I wonder if time displacement comes into play. Like maybe they calculate wrong how many Earth years are passing while they're out and about doing their thing. Was Grace out for a while those other 2 astronauts woke up and lived full lives? And maybe, I don't know, maybe something happened. I went all over I was going deep.
You were going down rabbit holes that I would not have gone down.
Gosling also in that interview recently said it's not his job to save movie theaters. It's Hollywood's job to make movies worth seeing.
Burn!
Yeah, which I thought, good on you, bro. Good on you. But I think making movies like this will go a long way in helping that cause.
His past couple movies I've seen in theaters were really good.
The past few. Like, so the Barbie movie wasn't really his movie.
He nailed it,
But
though.
Fall Guy did not deserve the bomb that resulted in it. Because that was a good movie.
That was solid.
All right, Cody. What's good? What's good in this movie to you?
Like, I can't really say the cast because it's really just Ryan Gosling.
Right?
But no, Ryan Gosling did a really good job just because, like, I was really concerned. Having listened to the whole audiobook, knowing all the details, is Ryan Gosling going to make me believe that he's a guy that had so much potential and then just settled down to mediocrity and decided to be a teacher and just give up on his hopes and dreams?
Yeah.
And yeah, I believed it.
There was so much inner monologuing in the book too. I
Yes.
was like, how are they going to flesh all that out?
I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I believed he could have been a scientist.
Yeah, I will also echo Ryan Gosling. This is career best territory for him. He carries virtually every scene, not unlike The Martian and Matt Damon. We talked last week about what a great role that was for Matt Damon. And I think this is the same thing for Ryan Gosling. Boy, he just really gets to shine. He makes the science feel conversational,
Yes.
light, funny, vulnerable in equal measure.
Like a middle school science teacher.
Yeah. Multiple critics called this his most likable role ever.
They must not have seen the Barbie movie because he was thoroughly enjoyable.
And I just think he was wonderful in this movie. His investment shows throughout the whole thing because this was like a passion project for him. And I think he's great. I've always thought he was good, but I think he's great in this movie.
He's a liability at corner, though.
He is. Gosh, would somebody take him out and put Petey in, please?
Please.
What else is good?
Any scene with Rocky is just really enjoyable, and it gives you the feels. And I'm going to piggyback off this before I turn it over to you again, but a lot of the choices that they made to either condense or just drop in the movie certain parts really worked out well. I didn't need to see Ryan Gosling struggle to lift Rocky to go into the containment area so that he could heal himself up and Ryan Gosling get burns. That wasn't needed. Yeah. It was a very vital part in the book, but the way they handled it in the movie, because the problem I had with The Martian is there was like 1,000,000 things happening 1,000,000 times, and that would have been another 1,000,000 thing. Like, how is Ryan Gosling going to get Rocky into this apparatus and also not die from the burns and all that?
And the ammonia. And yeah. But the way they do it is so good because they put it all on Rocky off screen. I mean, you see the tail end of it, and the tail end of it is him, like, you can tell he's like hemorrhaging like something. And then when Rylan wakes up and he's healing, he sees the trail of whatever came out of Rocky left, and there's just this feeling of dread. And I knew that he makes it, right?
Yep.
But here I am feeling the dread, like, oh no.
This is the moment that Leah is crying for about the 4th time at least during this movie.
Your poor wife. To be fair, I cried a lot in this movie.
I did not.
They're not from sadness, but just from touching emotional stuff. There's some really good deep themes in this.
There are.
What else? Do you have anything else that's good?
I love the addition of the Harry Styles song.
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
It also made that character a little bit more human, which with the way that it ends in this version, I think you needed her to be a little bit softer, a little bit more compassionate than the book version.
Yeah. So the book version of Strat is cold, brutal, and ruthless.
Yeah.
She has just an eye on, we got to get this done. It means the survival of the earth, and I will do whatever I have to do to get it done.
And I am right.
But I think it makes the betrayal of Grace all the more powerful to know in this movie, she's not that person. She's close, but she's not quite so rough around the edges.
She will have this moment of camaraderie with the crew for at least 3/4 of the song.
And I think it makes it land more. Plus, yeah, the song's great. I have the visuals. No green screen used in this. Can you believe that?
What?
Yeah. Greg Fraser shooting on IMAX ready cameras. They used film stock transfer for warmth. And they did some of the same effects that the shooting of the Batman and Dune used. So practical effects, no green screen. Most of the VFX was to, I can't remember what they used it for, but they used it for something. But it wasn't like even Rocky is all puppetry.
So it wasn't the spacewalk in the atmosphere of the alien planet?
Yeah, I mean, they probably used it for that, the planet, like the background stuff. But yeah, it was wonderful. Great stuff. The friendship of Grace and Rocky is the emotional core of the movie. Two beings from different worlds who can't breathe the same air, forming a bond over the purpose they share. They both want to save their planets and they need each other. I love when we mash genres together. So you got sci-fi and like this kind of 80s buddy cop energy. But honestly, it's these moments of loyalty that land the hardest in the movie. We already referenced when Rocky saves Ryland Grace. We haven't talked about when Ryland saves Rocky yet, but we will. But the fact that Rocky was a physical puppet on set, not an effect, meant Gosling had a real scene partner, and you can kind of feel the difference, I think.
And it probably helped that he had his daughter's voices in his ear.
Yes. I also had the voice cameo, that voice cameo. So when Ryland is choosing a translated voice for Rocky on his computer, one of the rejected options is Meryl Streep.
That was a good one.
Another directorial choice here. Gosling wasn't told in advance this was happening. So his reaction of, she can do anything, is a real reaction to them surprising him with Meryl Streep's voice. That was a genuine reaction. The directors procrastinated for a long time, apparently, before working up the nerve to ask her. And so Phil Lord was describing him rehearsing the pitch in the mirror before he got to talk to Meryl Streep. Meryl, by any chance, would you want to play a rejected voice of an alien on a computer? But yeah, I thought that was great. And it was a real surprise in the theater because that's obviously not in the book. Well, another thing good about this movie, just the vibe. Andy Weir has now managed to make 2 sci-fi classics with some extremely heavy themes and consequences, but both of them feel extraordinarily light, like popcorn movies.
Yes.
There's real stakes, but they feel so light. And I don't think that's a small thing. The Martian did it with disco music and potatoes. This one does it with buddy comedy and problem solving. And both stories are fundamentally about extinction level stakes, both on the minor scale for Matt Damon's character and on a major scale for this movie. I think Weir is just great. I will read or watch anything he does, anything that's based on his work now. Lord and Miller, when they were describing the film's emotional identity to the guy who would do the music, described it as hope core.
Nice.
And I am here for that description. I want more hope core. You brought up Sign of the Times moment where Sandra Hüller's Strack character does karaoke to this song, Sign of the Times by Harry Styles. And Hüller was asked to sing and said she'd only do it if it was Harry Styles' Sign of the Times. So it kind of working with the lyrics and the feel of the movie. It was kind of her idea. And they ended up using it for much of the marketing.
It is in like a lot of trailers and snippets and commercials.
And like I said, I didn't know I needed the humanization of Strack as a character, but it really works in the movie. And then finally, another song at the end really made me giddy, Cody, because they play a hymn, Glory, Glory, but it's sung by Ike and Tina Turner, a gospel hymn closing out a movie about sacrifice and grace, which is literally the main character's name, and choosing community and sacrifice over comfort. And I just got so excited. You cannot tell me that Andy Weir is not a Christian right now. Like, I just don't believe him. He says he's agnostic, but I just don't believe him because there are so many Jesus moments in this movie, more than a Superman movie, which has got a lot of them.
There's a lot of writers and film directors that claim the agnostic title. Sometimes I think they're trying to fit in with their culture or their group, their cohort. Then there's other times that I think they have a negative baggage or they perceive the negative baggage of being labeled a Christian. And then there's other times that I think they don't want to use the word spiritual. Because for a while, there was a lot of people that were like, I'm spiritual, I'm not a Christian. Mm-hmm. But that's weird imagery as well. So, like, agnostic's just the easy one.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if he just wants to avoid, because there's a stigma, there's a thing, because of the politics of this country and all the other stuff, Christian nationalism, Trump, all that stuff. There's this stigma that you don't want to be a part of sometimes while still being what you are and what you believe. And right now, the proof we have are 2 movies with extensive spiritual fingerprints all over the stories. And it's all over this movie, even though it's not a preachy movie. It never gets preachy with it. And neither did The Martian. Anything not so good?
The main complaint I have is just that I know all the details.
Yeah.
And so, like, there are several storylines that I'm like, well, this would inform you how dire things were on Earth. Mm-hmm. And we don't really get that besides, like, the Earth's cooling down, everyone's going to kill, or half the world's going to die off because we're going to fight each other for the scarce resources we have.
Yeah.
We don't get, I'm nuking Antarctica.
A great what the moment. You don't get Sahara Desert. Yeah.
And like what the consequences of just using a quarter of that up are. And so, like,
if you want to know what we're talking about, you're gonna have to go read the book.
Yes. There are so many, whoa, they did this? I can't believe that. That's another thing is you don't like get to hear a whole lot about the astrophage. Don't even hear the name except for like a couple times.
Yeah. So I got 2 things, and one of them is just going to piggyback off of what you're saying here. About 20 minutes into the movie, the story is moving so fast that I already start feeling this disappointment of like, oh my goodness, they're not going to explain any of the science. They're not going to tell us what's happening with the astrophage. They're not going to tell us why this is happening or how they found out it was happening or any of that. I was just begging for, like, all you had to do was put in an extra 15 minutes and have the discovery of the Petrova line.
Yes.
I was begging for that. Like, why wouldn't they have just done that? But then about midway through the movie, when I realize how long it's been, I think, oh yeah, they couldn't have done that. Because that would have been a 5-hour movie.
Director's cut.
We need the Zach version. But you're not getting any science in that version either, just slow motion action cuts.
At the very beginning, when he wakes up and he's able to talk and move super quick, I'm like, it took like 30 minutes before he could say 4.
Yeah, in the audiobook, you're with that for a long time before he can even do words. But the book is dense with real satisfying problem solving, which our guest last week, Paul, that was his favorite parts of The Martian, with the science and the problem solving. Now, Grace works through physics and orbital mechanics and biological science in the book that makes you feel like you're learning alongside him. And the film has to streamline a lot of that by necessity. Drew Goddard, the scriptwriter, said they learned from The Martian that audiences love complicated science, but there's a limit to what a 2.5 hour runtime can hold.
Yes.
And so my disappointment sort of faded as the movie went on when I realized that a faithful adaptation would have been too long. It's a fair trade, but I still felt it. The bigger thing for me, this was the thing. So even more than the Petrova line discovery, this was the thing that hurt, that I felt like they didn't include. In the book, you really sit with the weight of Rocky's isolation. He had been in the Tau Ceti system for 46 Earth years alone. He's 291 years old in the book. His entire crew died of radiation sickness after leaving his planet's protective magnetic field. And he watched them die one by one and still held his mission together because his planet needed him. He's been alone for 46 years when he comes into contact with Ryland. And you feel that in the book.
Yes.
He's sort of, once they get comfortable with each other, he's always sort of hyper and jumpy. Like people that have children, young children that just are always trying to talk to you will understand what he's like in the book. And in the movie, I feel like it moves through that so quickly and leaves so much of this emotional weight off the screen that you miss out on this context of knowing that Rocky waited nearly half a century alone, which is the reason why the friendship of the movie and the story is so great, and the reason for his sacrifice. Like, he literally makes the sacrifice to save Ryland, knowing that, like, if I die, my planet dies. And he does it anyways. It's the perfect leave the 99 for the one moment.
And I will say the ending
is different from the book.
It is, and that was a bit of a downgrade. Like, it wasn't significant, but Ryland in the book cries because the scientists on Arid are able to see that Earth's sun is back to full glow.
Yeah.
And that's how he learns it worked.
Yeah.
You don't get that moment for Ryland in this, but you get to see Strat being able to watch the video diaries and know that, Earth's okay.
Yeah, the audience knows that the Earth is going to be fine, but Ryland doesn't, which in the book he does.
And like, it happens several years after he's been on Arid for a long time.
He's much older in the book. Yeah. So, all right, it's time for Recast It. This is a hard one. Would you have recasted anything?
Yes.
Okay.
And this kind of goes against my statement earlier, but Strat was the easiest one for me to recast.
There's not many choices, but I couldn't do it because she's so good.
Famke Janssen.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Or Famke, who is best known as Mean Jean Grey in the X-Men movies. I want her to be Strat, just because if you've ever watched the show Hemlock Grove, her demeanor and her matter-of-fact bluntness in that show is very Strat-esque in the book. That like, oh, no, we're doing this. And this is what needs to be done. We're going to keep going. It doesn't matter if you're upset. It doesn't matter if this is unethical. It doesn't matter if this is going to wipe out a whole species of toads in the desert. We're doing this. And she's a good actress. She's been in several things. Her daughter was taken. Liam Neeson had to save her.
It's true.
And so I think that she would have done a great job capturing the more true to the book-esque Strat.
I struggled with this because Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller are the two most prominent, but really the only super prominent people in the movie, and I loved their performances. So I went with the next closest prominent person on screen, and that was Officer Carl, the security guy who guards Ryan Gosling. But I actually kind of liked Lionel Boyce, who played him in this movie. And so I'm like, well, how would I recast him? I thought he was fine, but then I started dreaming and I thought, you know what? There is one dude who existed who I think would have been perfect for this as the gentle giant kind of role. Sadly, he passed away in 2012 and his name was Michael Clark Duncan.
The Green Mile.
Once I started imagining if Michael Clark Duncan could have played this role, I think he would have been perfect. Duncan had that incredible combination of physically imposing presence with genuine warmth underneath. Yes. He kind of made a career off of that. And as Cody said, the Green Mile. And he could be intimidating, but also like teddy bear lovable quality in him. And I just thought about Michael Clark Duncan and I thought, one, I miss Michael Clark Duncan. And two, he could have pulled this role off. He's the only guy I could think of.
The other recast I was going to recast Rocky.
Oh,
and
with Grogu?
No. I was going to have Rainn Wilson voice him.
That would have been amazing.
So those are my two recasts.
We got a new segment for our movie reviews. I call it The Line. And this is real simple, Cody. What was your favorite dialogue from the movie?
Fist my bump. Like, as soon as he said it, I started dying in the theater, laughing out loud. And my wife looked at me and she realized that's why I had been saying that like the whole week leading up to us watching the movie.
There's so many hilarious moments between them two. And
your face is leaking.
I hate Mark. Rocky hate Mark. There was so much good stuff with Rocky. I went serious though.
Someone needed to.
Yeah, I went with, there's this moment where they're standing on the aircraft carrier or the base or whatever. I can't even remember what it was now. And they have just finished talking about just the absurdity of the mission they're about to embark on. And Ryland Grace looks at Strat and says, "Do you believe in God?" And she takes a beat. And I don't know what I expected her to say, Cody, but it was not this. It's better than the alternative.
Bazinga.
And I just said, I remember in the theater, I said, amen. Amen, sister, that'll preach. And it just makes it land because Strat is the most pragmatic, cold, ruthlessly logical person in the movie. She's not sentimental at all. And yet when asked this question, she doesn't give some weird sterile dismissal. It feels deeply honest. And I think it's great. I think it was wonderful. Deeper themes, Cody. You get real Jonah vibes from this movie. It all hinges on this moment where Ryland Grace turns them down. So after the other two astronauts are killed and they're like, "It's got to be you," he says, "No thanks.
I'm not a hero type."
And in a shocking moment in the story, they subdue him, knock him out, and put him into a coma and put him on the ship. He is a completely unwilling participant in this mission. When you find that out in the story, it is like, it feels like a violation because it is. He never gets consent.
In the book, like when that happens, it's right after, because it does the flash forward, flashback, forward, flashback. It happens right after Rocky tells him, "We are heroes."
Yeah.
And then he has this memory come back to him.
Where he is most definitely did not want to be the hero.
He is not a heroic person.
And I immediately thought of Jonah. He's put on this mission against his will. Strat has him drugged. He wakes up with no memory of who he is or how he got there. And this is the same thing that happens to Jonah in the Bible, because Jonah's the prophet of God and he says, "No, I'm not going." And God puts him in a whale or big fish, depending on the translation.
Big fish.
And so that was the easy first connection, but then it got deeper for me because as someone who doesn't want to make the sacrifice at first, I immediately thought of the Garden of Gethsemane and Jesus, where Jesus knows what's coming in the garden. And he asks the Father as he's praying, "Is there any other way? Can you take this cup from me? I don't want to do this." I'm paraphrasing that last part, but that's essentially what he's asking. But the mission requires him. The difference is that Jesus ultimately says, "Not my will, but yours." And Ryland Grace doesn't get that moment of consent. It's taken from him. But here's where it's beautiful, Cody, because the movie gives him his Gethsemane moment. When Ryland discovers the Taumiba is going to destroy Rocky's ship, He has his real choice for the first time. What makes a hero, Cody? What makes it? Sacrifice. He gets the choice for sacrifice, and he says, I'm going to do it. But my choice is if I want to go home or if I turn around and save my friend. Nobody's forcing him. Nobody's drugging him. And he freely chooses sacrifice. He chooses the cup. And it's beautiful. And again, these earmarks like this, these spiritual, very Christian earmarks are in Andy Weir's stories.
They are. And I have a feeling will be used by a lot of geeky and nerdy pastors for sermon illustrations for years to come.
The whole arc of this movie is about a man going from forced, conscripted sacrifice to voluntary sacrifice. It's beautiful. And then just as a bonus, you get incarnation because he ends up at the end living among aliens. He dwells among them, Cody.
He does.
And that's John 1. The word became flesh and made dwelling among us. Incarnation language. That's the gospel.
I loved him staying on the planet and still fulfilling his calling of teaching.
Yeah. So a lot of teachers are having that reaction to it of like, this is the best. Who's your winner of the movie, Cody?
Learning that Ryan Gosling staked money and claim to this 6 years plus in advance.
Before the story was done.
Before it was even done. He must have listened to a lot of Kenny Rogers growing up because he was taking a gamble there. And
don't make me sing it.
I won't. But he laid claim to the movie and the role, and he lived up to the expectations that a lot of readers had in their minds of what this character might be like, what they might do, how they might act. And because I've seen several people that read the book, watched the movie, say they absolutely loved his depiction, and even some that were concerned, like I was, that like, how's he going to live up to this? He doesn't exactly look like your average middle school teacher.
True.
But he did, and so I agree this is probably his best role. Sorry, those that loved The Notebook.
Well, he's had a lot of good roles. Ryan Gosling's also my winner of the movie. He's been one of the most talented actors in Hollywood for a while. Drive, Place Beyond the Pines, Blade Runner 2049, La La Land.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Yeah, every single one of those movies that we just mentioned are respected, but none of them it feels like a cultural moment. They're either too niche or they're just not commercially what sends people over the top. The Fall Guy was supposed to be it, but it underperformed. And then Barbie gets him probably the closest. So the Ken role's a phenomenon. He has that moment at the Oscars, the I'm Just Ken moment, but it's still Margot Robbie's movie in a lot of ways. He's a scene stealer. He's not the lead. So this is the first time Gosling has the whole thing. He's the lead role, the producer. It's his passion project that he's been championing for 6 years. It has a huge first weekend, a cinema score of an A, and a performance critics are calling his best ever. And this is his moment. I'm happy for him.
I'm willing to give him an Oscar right now.
I don't know how you don't nominate him for Best Actor for this. And this is going to be a test because this is one of those movies where he's having a good time. It's jokey. It's like buddy comedy in parts. So these are the things that maybe sometimes the Academy doesn't really honor. Ryan Reynolds has said some things about that in the past with comedy.
I'm going to blame maybe Ryan Reynolds' movie choices.
Okay, not saying that he deserved it. He was just making general statements about comedy.
I'm still saying Ryan Reynolds' movie choices.
Who's your loser of the movie? And it can't be Ryan Reynolds.
It's really tempting to list Ryan Reynolds. It's the backup scientist because she doesn't get named in this.
The one he's having the affair with in the book.
Yes.
Dubois and the girl.
Yes. Because she wasn't mentioned in the movie. They do mention Dubois' name like twice.
Yeah, you see her.
You see
once
her.
or twice, yeah.
You don't know who she is. Otherwise, it was going to be the AT&T lady.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with the AT&T lady.
But I chose Scientist Girl.
Yeah. We call her the AT&T lady as a loving thing, by the way, because for years we have known her.
Yes.
In America, as in pop culture, she was the AT&T girl, Milena Vaintrue. Been that spokesperson for years.
Girl.
She had some smaller roles in some things, but this was her shot at being part of this massive blockbuster. She plays Alessia Ilikina, something.
And
but she's one of the astronauts that dies. And because of the way the story is structured, she barely gets any screen time.
You get to hear her say heroin.
She's in a $200 million movie starring Ryan Gosling that opened 1 million worldwide. And most people are going to walk out of the theater and probably couldn't tell you she was in it. Man, that's rough. That's rough, man. I feel for her. I hope they make the sequel. Andy Weir, do it. Write that sequel. How many stars out of 10 will you give this movie? Question.
I'll go a solid 9.5. I think if you ask me 6 months from now, it will be higher just because I will have forgotten a lot more of the book details. And if I rewatch it, it will be like, whoa, this is solid all across the board.
Amaze.
Oh,
man. I love this movie so much, Cody. This is a 10 for me. Not only is it a 10, but as that hymn is playing by Ike and Tina Turner at the end, glory, glory, hallelujah. I'm literally tears streaming down my face. I was like, this is one of the 10 best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Yeah, love it. I absolutely love this movie. I love that it's a great story, but I love that it's a new story. It's sci-fi. It's aliens. It's all this. And yet the elements of the story are tale as old as time. These are the things we love to see. Sacrifice, hero's journey, the value of the individuals around us.
Beauty in the Beast.
Oh, I just love it so much, man. This movie's great. You should go see it. Everyone should go see it.
I don't know why you're listening to this podcast.
Why are you listening to this? Go see the movie. Yeah, you shouldn't have listened to this if you haven't seen it.
We didn't even do spoiler warnings besides what might have played before we stopped.
So good. All right. As always, tell us what you think of Project Hail Mary and on these social media posts, and subscribe, do all that happy stuff.
See us at Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City.
Come see us at Planet Comic-Con, and we'll see you. If we don't, we'll see you next week.
We will. God willing.
I'm going to give him some bonus content. You ready for this?
I wasn't ready.
You got to know when to hold 'em. When to hold 'em. Know when to fold 'em. When to fold 'em. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You got to wait. You never count your money. Sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
That's for you, Goss.